Okay, so in Premiere so far we've looked at the workspace and creating projects. We've also looked at how to import footage both from the computer itself and from a camera. Now we need to look at working with it. The timeline down here is going to be our main area of focus in combination with the sequence window up there. This is your monitor for what's going on down in the timeline. The first thing we have to do is drag all your footage from the bin into the timeline, and we do this in order so that you've got already a rough idea of what sort of order things are going to go in. So I'm going to take a wildlife clip down here first, and then I'm going to take a how to be a celebrity clip down there second. The tools that you'll need to use on this timeline are on the left hand side here. If they're not, just go to Windows and Tools, and that will make them appear. You'll use two tools principally. One is the selection tool, the arrow, and the second is the cutting tool, or the razor. The selection tool is fairly easy to use. It allows you just to drag different clips to different places, position them in different areas. It also allows you to select several at a time and shift them forward or back according to how you want. Another important tool is this scrubbing tool. Now this scrub tells you whereabouts in the clip you actually are. So for instance, if I play from here in the monitor, you'll notice that the scrub window moves along nicely as the monitor window is going through the footage. This is useful because we want to know exactly where we are on our clip, so we know where to cut. So rather than fiddling about here, we can then go to this project window and shift the footage on by one frame at a time. And when we get to the exact frame where we need to cut, you'll notice that the scrub line is at exactly the right place. I select my razor, and over the clip and over the line itself, I click. And you'll notice that that has divided that footage into two, which I can then quite easily take somewhere else in the project, or if I wanted to, I could right click and press cut, and that would delete it. Okay, fairly easy. We've placed it, we've cut it. Now we need to look at the reason why we have lots of different layers of video. There are 3 video lines and 3 audio lines. This is so that we can mix things together. If you think of these lines as like physical sheets of paper, I've got a drawing on this piece of paper and I've got a drawing on this piece of paper. Now if I were to bring the scrub along here, I can see that this piece of paper has a koala on it, very cute, and if I place this piece of paper on top of it, then I wouldn't be able to see what's underneath it, except that in this case I can because the footage is the wrong size. So if you think of it that way, putting clips on top of another clip will hide them, and we don't necessarily want to do that. One of the best uses for this type of technique is to go from one piece of footage to another in a fade. So for instance, if you can see here, I have footage of the birds, and here I've got my footage of Tim, but actually I want to fade this out. So what we use is opacity handles, the yellow line. By selecting the clip, you'll see that this little keyframe here lights up, and if I select this keyframe by clicking it, we get a little ball shape there at the place where the red line was. Now if I shift the red line a bit further on and do the same thing again, I've got a second one. And the reason this is useful is I can now pull this down, and that will gradually make this clip see-through. You should be able to see that I can see the birds at the moment, and gradually it's faded out. Underneath, what I can quite easily do if I want to is fade this in by doing the exact opposite, by dragging one line down and keeping another line at the top. So that means that this particular clip will now go from black to full vision. And if I layer them underneath, then what you should be able to see is that one clip fades as the other one fades in. So that's how to use opacity handles and the keyframes there. On the audio side of things, we still have the same handles, the yellow line here, and we also have the same keyframes, but this time what's controlled is the volume. So if I was to do a keyframe here in this particular clip, I'll let you listen to it first. You can hear the sound there. Now what I'm going to do is place a keyframe here, and then I'm going to place another keyframe here, and what I'm going to do is just drag this ball down, and now you should hear that the volume gets gradually quieter. Until there's no volume at all. This is useful if you are placing another piece of sound underneath, for instance a voiceover, where you want the voice to be heard and the music to go down to either no sound at all or just a very, very dim background sound. So those are the main effects that you might want to use in the timeline itself. If you are working with lots and lots of footage, one useful thing is this slider here, which allows you to zoom in and zoom out so you can see the entire footage that's there so far. And that is how to use the timeline.